Okay, I'd like to call to order the Monday, April 15th meeting of the City of Monona Finance and Personnel Committee. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Kitzler?
Here.
Alder Wood?
Here.
Mayor O'Connor?
Here. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of March 18th?
Move to approve. Second.
Any corrections or additions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. There are no appearances. There is no unfinished business. New business item 6A, consideration of resolution 19-4-2346, award of bid for City Hall and Library HVAC upgrades. Brad, were you going to talk about this?
So I know that Dan presented.
Oh, I'm sorry, I should have said, is there a motion to approve this? I'm
Move
sorry.
to approve. Second.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
So I know Dan presented this at the last meeting.
At council.
At council, so not at finance. So
Okay.
the total bid award would be for $77,200. Our budgeted amount was $174,000. And at that, I mean, does anybody have any questions on the bid?
I do. This is just for the balancing, right? Or is it for more than that?
This is for the balancing and a replacement of a condensing unit, which is effectively the air conditioning unit.
Okay. One thing I wondered about in the first whereas, includes an allocation to complete HVAC upgrades. It really doesn't, it's kind of just the beginning, isn't it? It's really not completing them. I'm just wondering if that should be worded differently. Maybe
Yeah.
that's kind of picky.
Yeah, I mean, we can continue.
Yeah, maybe. Might be better.
Which word are we changing? To complete?
To
would be
continue
to
HVAC
continue?
upgrades, does that sound okay? Or
Yep.
yeah. Because there probably is going to be more, right? This is just the first step.
Yeah, there will be more to come from that too. The idea of doing this first is that it's a fairly involved survey essentially of the ductwork, and it'll show if there's any major issues with the system. So.
Okay. Any, Doug?
So in addition to the bid amount of $77,200, then we also have $18,000 for construction administration, right?
The $18,000 was for design, bidding, and construction administration. The
Okay.
$18,000 was taken up in design, bidding, and then we just signed a task order for $7,800 additional to do all the construction administration.
And the total of all that is 18.
No, it'll be
Or
25,800 all said and done.
Okay.
For Strand's portion of this particular project.
So then is that taken out of the contingency?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want, we're way under budget. I mean, even with that
Right.
amount, were you surprised? Or, I mean, we're sure we're getting everything that we asked for. And
Yeah, we were surprised, but it turns out there's not as much serious balancing that needs to be done in the
Okay.
system. And the cushion is a good thing, because if they go in and they find any really significant issues, then we still have room to do those improvements
yeah,
in this project, as opposed to pushing it down the road and doing it later.
right. Okay.
And I know you don't have a crystal ball, but to your best knowledge, that the temperature controls in the library, for example, would be solved through this, or are we hoping that this balancing would then zone it, hone in on what the issue would be?
You should see significant upgrades in comfort, but it may not fix everything, because there may just be very difficult problems to solve in the system itself that you might have to push into a different project.
Okay.
For instance, the air handling units down here for the lower level, they may need to be replaced. That's a really expensive fix.
Mhm.
If a unit is found to be improperly or working improperly for one of the rooftop units, that might need to be replaced as well. So hopefully this will come up with some answers to how well those units are actually functioning.
Okay.
And there's a chance we might be warmer next winter. That's our main, right? Is
Yeah, I
that,
mean, my premise for the question is, I feel like the library in particular has been dealing with this for now
Yeah.
years, at least while I was on the board for 2 years, and now one off the board. So, anyways,
Yeah.
that's the only reason.
Since the renovations were completed, I think,
Is it that
Yeah.
long?
pretty much.
the problem is we kept the old HVAC system.
Yeah.
When we shouldn't have. And then put in a new control system that really
Yep.
isn't geared to work on a system that's 40 years old, so.
And just in terms of this project, this is kind of the beginning. Next year was planned to have controls systems upgrades, which is also it's not cheap, but it's a lesser option in terms of money value to do, and it has significant upgrades in comfort.
So we're kind of doing it step by step to see if we can get almost everything taken care of early on. Maybe we won't have to do as much later.
Yeah,
Whatever.
and maybe we don't have to do some of the bigger items.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully find that out.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6B, consideration of resolution 19-4-2341, award of bid for 2019 microsurfacing project. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move approval.
Second.
Dan?
Thank you. We have the 2019 microsurfacing project information in front of you. We received bids on March 21st for this work. The contractors submitted bids, Strucken, Irwin, and Farmer. The bid price came in at $144,524.68. Strucken, Irwin provides a little bid. Included in the packet, I also have a map showing all the roads that will be done, 11 streets, and then as well as the bid tab for the work to be done.
Questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item 6C, consideration of resolution 19-4-2342, award of bid for Winnequa Park Lagoon improvements.
Move to approve.
Second.
Dan?
Thank you. This one as well, we received 2 bids on March 1st, 2019. Hamburg Contractors provided a low bid for this work, $726,915. This is for the PCB removal in the lagoon north of Nichols Road, and alternates 1 and 2 for the additional sediment to be removed. We have $846,600 in our capital budget. We have an engineering proposal that you'll hear later for $65,000, which leaves us $54,685 for maintenance at 6.5%. At the first reading at City Council, I can note information regarding the landfill. The landfill is requiring another test to be done by the contractor prior to the solids going to the landfill. There's a chance, hopefully a highly unlikely chance, that we'd have to truck this material out of state. If we do, that would raise the cost of the project significantly, and that'll come back here to City Council for further advisement.
And we may reconsider doing the north end?
Right, those
At
are
that
options.
point.
We could just dedicate all the money to removing the PCBs and disposing of that. But we'll find out once we get the sampling done.
Questions?
And the sampling happens after we approve this?
We have to approve it first before Hamburg will stick any money into sampling.
Gotcha.
Yep. But we do have enough time after they sample and before they're allotted the time to start. There's time in there to consult. So.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Because this doesn't start until after July 4th?
July 8th. Week of
July 8th,
July 8th.
okay.
Yep.
Doug?
So I know this doesn't include any of the shoreline treatments. Do you know?
There is some shoreline work with this bid.
Okay.
Mainly in the alternate areas. There is shoreline treatments, I believe, where the PCB material is, but the bid did include shoreline restoration. But this is only north of Nichols,
Right.
not south.
Mm. You know, like what kind of shoreline restoration?
I don't want to guess offhand, but I believe there's some riprap boulder type work. There was some, I think, a kayak launch in there. I believe that still is in the bid. Just some other amenities for the park.
Okay, good, thanks.
I don't know.
So where would a kayak go from there?
To around that small channel, I don't know.
Okay, all
But
right.
that was in conjunction between the Parks Director and the engineer, some amenities to that lagoon,
I'll have to ask about that.
Yeah.
so.
Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6D, consideration of Resolution 19-4-2343, approval of observation and administration services proposal from Strand Associates for the North Winnequa Park Lagoon improvements. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move approval.
Second.
Dan?
Thank you. This is the proposal for administration and observation services for the dredging project. We've been working with Strand the past 3 years on this project, doing the sampling, doing the grant submissions to the DNR, and basically all the engineering. What we did not have was them lined up to do observation and administration. So the proposal you have before you covers that. It's a total price of $65,000. $25,000 will be dedicated to PCB area, and the remaining $40,000 to the alternates 1 and 2 for sediment removal and the shoreline improvement.
Questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6E, consideration of Resolution 19-4-2344, award of bid for 2019 Bridge Road Improvements Project. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
Second.
Dan?
Thank you. This is for the bid award for Bridge Road improvements. Hamburg provided the low bid, $2,339,750.30. We did add another whereas at the request of City Council at the first reading. $1,497,036 is identified to be City of Monona. $842,714 of the bid cost will be City of Madison.
Thanks for including that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Questions?
Yeah.
Doug?
So, between the numbers, I'm a little confused, I guess.
Mhm.
Where are we in terms of our budgeted amount?
Okay. We have $2,075,200 budgeted. The bid is $2,339,750.30.
That includes,
That includes City of Madison.
yeah.
Yep.
right.
So our cost is the 1.497 million. So the balance, we do have undergrounding to complete yet. That allocation is in here. In the budget preparation last year, we put an estimate of 410,000. The latest estimate we got back from MGE is 390,000. AT&T was 21,000, and then we're still waiting back from to hear back from Charter. So there's going to be more discussion on the undergrounding for the utilities. But let's see, we have contingency and bridge aid. We have construction cost of 1.639759. We have 162,939 in contingency. That is with the bridge aid grant that we're going to get from Dane County. So that should be an adequate amount to cover the City of Monona cost. If there's overruns, City of Madison will have contingency as well.
So are you saying we're over budget by a couple $100,000? Am I
No.
hearing that right, or we're not?
Nope. With our bridge aid grant and contingency.
I'm sorry, our estimate is over what it's turning out to be.
Well, the estimate for the undergrounding of the private utilities, we included that in the capital budget request because there was
Right.
no other place to put it. That estimate of 410,000 is under the proposal costs that we're receiving back. So when we bring those through for approvals, we'll have to address that at that time, mainly the MG&E one. That latest one was 390,000 alone. So,
Okay.
And that would be in addition to this 1.6
yes.
million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, as well as AT&T and Charter.
Right.
Okay.
So those three agreements have to come before Public Works Committee and Council yet.
Okay. So those together will probably take it over this 2,075,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passes. Item 6F, consideration of Resolution 19-4-2345. Approval of proposal from Strand Associates for engineering and construction services for South Winnequa Road improvements. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second.
Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. Strand has been working with the city, mainly in the Bike Ped Ad Hoc Committee. They also completed the engineer's report, which was presented to council and accepted by council for some design changes, proposed design changes to South Winnequa Road. In the engineering phase, they're going to look at several things, which include intersection speed tables, sidewalks, bike lanes, milling and resurfacing, and new pavement markings. The 2019 design number that they submitted is $78,900. We have a capital budget amount of $80,000. And if approved, in the 2020 capital budget for construction, they also provide construction services proposal. In with the design proposal, that cost would be $93,600. So it's that second cost is only if it's approved in the 2020 capital budget.
Questions? Andrew?
Question as far as like logistics of the 93,000. I know that's not what we're approving
Right.
tonight,
Mhm.
but how do they know what we want in our construction yet? And then that gets their number. I mean, for example, if we just, for some reason, say we just want to restripe the streets,
This changes then.
Yeah. so this is their high end.
Right. Given what city council accepted in the engineer's final report from the
That's
Bike
what they
Ped
base
Committee,
this off of.
those design treatments were covered in there.
Gotcha.
So I guess that's what's guiding us in this design.
Gotcha.
Yep. But that will come before city council as well, before that becomes final.
Yeah, gotcha. Thanks.
Doug? Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6G, consideration of Resolution 19-4-2347, amending the 2019 capital budget to complete temporary limited easement acquisition services for Atwood Avenue reconstruction. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
Second.
Dan?
Thank you. In our 2019 capital budget, we do not have funding to complete TLE services for Atwood Avenue. We're seeking $16,700, so MSA, who is the City of Madison's engineering contractor, can complete the TLE services. There are two parcels on the Monona side where the construction limits go beyond the right-of-way. This is to acquire temporary limited easements and to do all the appraisal work, the miscellaneous task items associated with that. In the packet, the information, MSA has it broken down. The TLE estimates for each parcel is $2,500, and then there's a bunch of other associated work that they would be doing with that. That would total $16,700. When the project is over, the temporary easements go away. So.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Item 6G, or 6H, sorry. Consideration of Resolution 19-4-2349, adopting a policy to provide a paid parental leave benefit for city employees. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
And second.
Second.
Leah.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. This is a new benefit for employees that came out of the proposal in the 2019 budget, and it was adopted in the 2019 budget to fund 2 weeks of paid parental leave for employees when they have a new baby or have adopted a new child, and then an additional 2 weeks to care for sick family members. So this draft policy is the result of this budget proposal for the 2 weeks of paid parental leave only. The second policy is still being drafted. So I'll go ahead and just sort of highlight the main points of the policy and answer questions from there. So the purpose of the policy is to care for and bond with a new child. The policy does not include employees who are acting as surrogates or sperm donors, and it doesn't include temporary welfare placements like foster care and guardianship. So it's only for new babies and new adopted children. The policy includes 2 weeks for all permanent, full-time, and permanent part-time employees. So paid on-call employees, hourly part-time employees, and seasonal employees are not included in the policy. For union employees, the policy is subject to mandatory bargaining per the mandatory standards, maintenance of standards clause in their contracts, because it relates to wages and hours and working conditions. So we will, if it is the intent of the council to include represented employees with this policy, which I believe it was in the budget proposal, we'll want to add the policy as a memorandum of understanding to the current 2 public safety labor contracts, have it expire with those contracts, and then at the end of those contracts, that policy can be renewed, or they can choose to bargain it if they want. And this policy has been vetted by our labor attorney, so it's been looked at by him. This leave would run concurrently with the Family Medical Leave Act and the Wisconsin Family Medical Leave Act. So currently, employees right now are allowed to take up to 12 weeks of leave through FMLA, combined FMLA and WFMLA. This policy would not add to that 12 weeks. It would run concurrently with those 12 weeks. It would just be 2 weeks paid of that family medical leave. We're asking employees to use all 2 weeks either all at once or in 2 blocks of 1 week each. So they wouldn't be allowed to use it intermittently for an extended period of time, or to use the leave to basically work part-time for a while before coming back to work. The leave would not be able to be taken until after the birth or adoption occurs, and then it would have to be used within 6 months of the birth or adoption. And it could not be taken more than once in a 12-month period. Questions?
Just that last, I thought we talked about adding something that about when the 12 months would
Yep.
commence.
I will add a clarification to the policy on that, we sort of decided, how do we decide when the clock restarts on that 12-month
Yeah.
period? And we decided the clock would restart on the last day of that employee's leave.
The paid leave?
The
or
paid leave, correct, the paid leave.
Yes, question.
Doug? Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see. So I'm not terribly familiar with the process of adopting a child, but my understanding is a lot of times the child will be placed in the home before the adoption is final. So they won't actually have been adopted then, but that would be the first time they would have the child in the home. Would they not be able to take the paid leave until the adoption is final?
I would guess that the way this policy is written right now, no, they would not be. I don't know if that's considered a temporary placement until the adoption is finalized. If it is considered a temporary placement, then no, that wouldn't be allowed the way the policy is currently written.
Okay. Then I just, under a suggestion, under definitions for parent, I think where it says parent means a male or female, you could just say a parent means a person who is the
Okay.
birth mother or father, because it's kind of redundant by the way. And then in the second sentence of that, parent also means the partner of the birth parent or adoptive parent, but I don't think we define what a partner is anywhere, which I think that's probably something we should define, or we're gonna have, potentially open up.
Do you have a suggestion for that definition? I mean, are you thinking they need to live in the same residence?
Yeah, I
Do they
mean,
need to-
there's, before they sort of changed to the way domestic partnerships were treated. You know, there were reforms that the state had, in fact, the city, I think, had, or maybe still has, for health insurance for domestic partnerships that sort of defined, like, I don't know, there were 3 or 4 things that defined a domestic part, if that's what we mean. I assume that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, otherwise I think you potentially could get into arguments about, well, who, you know, who qualifies. So I guess my recommendation would be to say domestic partner and then define that in a way similar to the way
Okay.
we've defined it in the past.
Okay.
And then just at the, I guess it's G in section 2, it said any parental leave not taken 6 months after, I would suggest saying not taken within 6 months after.
Okay.
And
I'm
then,
sorry, could you repeat that change?
to just add the word within after taken, so to not taken within 6 months.
Thank you.
And last, I think the last one, 3A, where it says employees must inform their supervisor as soon as practical of their intent to use paid parental leave. I'm wondering if we want to more specifically define as soon as practical. Like with a specific, it has to be 30 days before or whatever. I don't know what the,
I guess it's my understanding that in adoption, sometimes that's not the case. That adoptions can happen really quickly. And I don't know that it would be feasible for someone to give that much notice.
Same with a live birth. I mean, it may be the case
That's
that
true.
the child is born sooner or later than expected.
yeah,
and-
that's true. Yeah, certainly happens frequently. Okay.
I mean, I could add something to that just to encourage them to give us as much notice as possible.
Something like, yeah.
Yeah.
And is that what that's what you're looking for, Alderwood?
Yeah, again, kind of look, you know, so that that an employee doesn't think that they gave enough notice,
Mm-hmm.
but there's not a disagreement about whether they gave enough notice. Otherwise, I mean, what are the notice requirements for taking FMLA leave?
I can see if I have it here.
I'm just thinking that, I'm assuming there are requirements for that, and all we're really talking about is paying 2 weeks of
Mhm.
that.
Right.
So maybe it's a non-issue.
I will look at it. I'll look at it.
And then, I don't remember what we put in the budget for this, but do we have an idea of what we would expect this to cost, especially after, if we add it for the 2 CBAs?
Well, we put a total of $72,000 in the 2019 budget for it, $60,000 from the fund balance, and then $12,000 from property taxes. Right now, I have 2 FMLA requests from employees, upcoming FMLA requests, one from a non-represented employee and one from a represented employee. So in terms of, the non-represented employee shouldn't cost us anything out of pocket. The represented employee will cost us overtime to fill that employee's shifts for 2 weeks.
Depending on when that happens, we probably wouldn't, I don't know when they want the leave, but we still have to negotiate this MOU, is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Before that would be,
How would it not cost us anything?
For the non-represented employee,
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming they would be taking paid leave using their leave bank. So I mean, it down the road will probably cost us something if they leave employment and didn't end up using 2 weeks of their vacation that we end up paying out. But other than that, we wouldn't be filling their shift with an overtime shift. There wouldn't be any cost to cover that person's workload. Does that make sense? It's a person in a management
Yeah,
position,
I
so
guess,
we wouldn't be.
Going back, yeah, they're still, they have, under FMLA, they would have a right to take the time anyway, correct?
Correct.
So, okay.
And just, so when we created the budget for this, we looked at the last 10 years of represented and non-represented. And so with 2 weeks, the average would be $11,894.14. So that's a high of, I think, oh, I don't have it on this one, but what do I want to get at? Sorry, I have a bunch of spreadsheets here. So a high in like 2011, I think we had nearly 10 people take FMLA at some point. That'd be like $50,000. Not for 2 weeks and 2 weeks. I don't have those numbers out,
Yeah.
but that's like the high point. The low point, I think we had 2 in 2012, which cost $4,000. So what we did was we looked at that large span of time to hopefully average it out. That was also why I argued for a higher fund balance allocation. Hopefully we don't use all of that in 1 year, but at least we have that in there now in case, 2011 comes around again.
That's what the 60,000 is.
Yeah,
Kind of a reserve balance in case.
and I'm hoping that 12,000 every year just kind of builds that up, and then, some will be drawn down at different times. And the other point I wanted to get was, so that includes non-represented too, and she said, we're not paying anything, at least initially, but in the future, we could always look at, this is including all costs for all employees. So in the future, maybe when this starts to pay out for those, it'd be hard to track, but budgetarily, essentially, this is supposed to accumulate for that to pay out. Do you get what I'm saying?
Right, yeah. But even if it weren't overtime work, it still might be, say, at the library, if you have a permanent part-time person, taking the time off, could they maybe add time to somebody else's schedule that they wouldn't have?
Yeah, I can't speak to that, I guess, from a department level, in terms of how that.
As an example.
Yeah, in terms of how that person's job would be covered. I can tell you in the administration offices, if anybody used this benefit, there wouldn't be any overtime costs in our office. We would just be dividing up the work, or someone else would just take on those responsibilities.
Might there be comp time?
Not really. Non-represented employees don't get time and a half comp time. We get 1 hour for every 2 hours worked past 45 in a week, and it's sort of time off, and I don't know how many people actually take that time.
And I guess can I answer my own question, but if they could take the time off under FMLA anyway, so now that, whatever that cost would be is already being incurred. If we have people taking time off and we need somebody to take over their work, we're already doing that. I suppose this might encourage people to take a little more time off.
The only way that cost wouldn't be incurred is if that person did not have paid leave time accumulated, and they would have had to take 2 weeks unpaid. Otherwise, the
Oh, I
time
see.
would-
Yeah.
There could be an instance, though, if it's somebody's gone for a certain long time, or a position that's an administrative position where we need somebody to outside services for a little bit
Yeah.
to do, say, accounting or somebody else's work, then I assume that would be paid out of that sick leave, that bank too, because you'd have to cover those. But I imagine that's rarely, but that would be something I would assume that would be coming out of there.
Okay. But I guess I assume part of the reason for the policy is to encourage new parents to take that time off and to make it economically feasible.
Mhm.
Right.
So, do you have any more questions, Andrew? Do you think we ought to pass this on to council, or given all these several different changes we've asked for? Should we hold on this till next time?
I think the
Right.
changes that have been suggested are pretty perfunctory, so I think we could pass it on to
Okay.
council. It'd be first read tonight, and then we could
Well,
make
they
the...
had first read last week on this.
That's right.
No, they didn't.
Didn't they?
No.
Oh, I thought they
We
did,
just went
okay.
over it here.
Yeah, just it was, yeah. to
Oh, it was
discuss
just
at
here,
this body.
okay, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we could make the
Okay.
changes after tonight's meeting for our second read at our next
Okay.
council meeting.
Okay. All right, so no one else has any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6I, consideration of resolution 19-4-2351, approving an agreement with Monona Bank for facility naming rights for an outdoor ice rink at the Riverfront development. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion purposes anyway.
Is Jake going to be here to talk about
He'll be
this?
here later tonight for the council meeting. He was having some childcare
Okay,
issues.
okay.
Just for the committee's benefit, this was an agreement that the Parks and Rec Director worked to negotiate with Monona Bank to be kind of the named sponsor, if you will, of the Riverfront Ice Rink. The agreement, as it's written right now, would last 15 years, where they would provide an annual payment to the city for the naming rights, in which then they'd get some benefits in terms of signage and some use of the space at a number of different events over the course of the year. This is a fairly standard contract for an agreement like this, but we'd be happy to take any questions that you might have on it.
And I just want to say, this is something that Jake approached me about doing several months ago, and I encouraged him to go ahead and have discussions with Monona Bank. We had talked, as you know, the costs of this park. I've been pretty concerned about them, and we had talked about looking for some sponsorships for various pieces. So I encouraged him to go ahead and talk to them, and he's kept me apprised of his discussions with them. And Bill's seen has gone through the contract a couple times, and we've gone back and forth with them, and this is what we have, so.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, I
Doug?
have a few. So one, I understand this has not been to Parks Board. So at council, I'm gonna recommend that we refer it to Parks Board for their review. I think it's a pretty significant policy decision to make. So I think I would really like to hear, have their input on it. The other aspect of it is, Mark, I'd like to know, obviously not right now, but what the present value of these donations are, because we're talking about 10,000 a year going out 15 years. Obviously, the 10 grand in 15 years isn't going to be what it is today. So
I can get that for the next time.
yeah. And then Jake, I think, would have to try to figure this out, but it seems like we are, with the two events, private skate events per season, that I assume we might be foregoing revenue, or that has some value. The full-page ad in the city, the newsletters, I assume that has a value. The 10-team youth sport sponsorship packages per year, I'm not sure, but I assume there's a value. Anyway, the point is, I'd kind of like to know what the value of all these benefits are that they're receiving, so we kind of see. One of them is basically to give them a $2,000 credit for using all the facilities. So the net right off the bat is $8,000, and trying to figure out, what's the total that we're actually getting for it.
I agree, I can have that, work with Jake and get that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about, the 2,000 and the other stuff so it's more than,
And one other question, under their benefits received, paragraph AF, the clients of Monona State or MSB shall receive an admission to the facility for $1 per visit with proof of a Monona Bank checking or savings account. That, I guess that suggests to me that we're going to be charging admission to use the facility for the general public.
I think that is the case.
But that amount hasn't been set yet, that I know of.
Not that I'm aware of.
Have you talked about that at Park Board?
I mean, I know Jake has an operating budget for the ice rink, which I think would include probably revenue.
No, you
so
say that he
I'm
does
guessing has
have-
a good idea.
He does have a breakdown. He showed us last year, but I don't remember any of the
Yeah.
numbers, what they were.
I mean, it probably was in there, and maybe I just didn't focus on it. The charging of, charging the public to use every time, to skate there. I guess that's one of the things, why I would like to have Parks Board look at it, is to, see what they think about that.
Sure. I will say one thing, it's not uncommon for municipalities to do a charge for service for a facility like that, a special use facility like an ice rink. In the case of Verona, they do charge for public skate and skate rentals in their
Mhm.
facility. So because ice rinks are such a difficult venue to operate on an annual basis, from a
Right.
maintenance cost, I don't know that it would be feasible to do it on general obligation funds alone.
Okay.
Anything else? Andy, did you have anything?
I'll wait for Jake.
We'll wait
My
for Jake
question's for
to-
him.
Doug, did you have anything
Yeah.
else? So, did I ask for a motion on this?
Yes, you
Mhm.
do.
Can't remember, okay. Well, all in favor of passing it on to council with, do you want to say without a recommendation at this point?
I
or-
would, yeah. I would
Okay.
prefer that.
Is that okay? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Final item is acceptance of general fund accounts payable checks dated March 29th through April 11th. Documentation of invoices paid is available in the city clerk's office. Mark.
All right. So page, just not a lot. A lot is just average or ordinary course of business. But page 2, on the top invoice register, page 2, there is this capital underground equipment with operator. That's for the water utility. A lot of times that's, we use that for water main breaks. We contract with them. Other type of work with capital for water activities. Page, there's not a lot, page 6, PDS, Paragon Development Systems. These are the electronic poll books that were part of the 2019 capital. Page 7, Speedway.
Could I just ask a question about those?
Sure.
Joan, in terms of that, is Paragon responsible for taking care of the software problems, or is the state election board?
Election board.
Okay. I'm sorry, go on, Mark.
Oh, that's fine. Page 7, Speedway Sand and Gravel, MSD relocation. That's the sewer pipe. There's some stuff that had to be done on the checklist. The final, so this is the final bill for that. That's completed. Underneath that is Strand Associates. So you can see they are working on a bunch of stuff for us, but it is winding down some of the smaller stuff. Some of the bigger stuff is left. Page 8, very top, T2 Contracting. This is the start of the Riverfront concession site that's underway. At the very bottom, Dr. Yost, he is the EMS medical director.
Mark, on that page, I had a question about the payment to the Watertown Municipal Court. You know what that is?
Would have been a bond payment.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a bond.
Probably, where we collected the money and we have to pay who holds the bond.
Yeah.
Okay.
Page 12, or page 10, advanced disposal. Just so we're kind of talking about this internally, if you've talked about here. The rebate has gone down. with everything that's going on in the world, the rebates for the recycling, that number has decreased. The number we'll be looking at pretty hard here for the 2020 budget. Page 10.
Mark, on that, so on the rebate line,
Yep.
there's a minus or a hyphen right after the number.
So that's, so basically it's the net amount, it's 24,000, so that's just the, basically that would be a revenue account, revenue money, so,
Okay.
it's net of that revenue amount. But that number is, should be right around 4,000 roughly, is that what we have in the past? Yeah, so I believe like paper is down to almost zero right now, so,
Paper is what's down.
yeah.
Everything else is holding steady.
Okay.
So, I think that's.
Mark, on 10, the Four Lakes Yacht Club, is that our last bill for that?
Yes, it is. I believe it is.
We know that for sure.
And the redevelopment matters, do you know, is that just like the other CDA
Some of the
proposed
other,
stuff?
some of the other items.
Yeah, some of the other items related. I had one more. Also on page 14, it's kind of GWB, professional services. You guys are aware, you guys are CDA, so this is Gary Becker's charges for this TIF consulting and then Renew Monona program consulting. Underneath there. Kilgust, a couple down from there. For the community center, some boiler repair cost right there. I believe that's, on page 17. This is kind of the start of the Midwest meters, water meter upgrades. The old system was not compatible anymore, so we had to get a new kind of software. So this would be compatible if we ever change everything out with the new system. So that was part of the 2019 capital budget. Page 18, Reiner, we got a credit, which is basically a trade-in, and then the park mower, snow blower, which was approved through here. And that's it, all I have.
Any further questions? Is there a motion to accept the bills?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.